Well, the day has come. Something's finally coming to an end, and it's not me doing YouTube. It's this car not having any paint on it. Hooray, right? We're finally going to paint the Great Pumpkin. I have spent the last, I don't want to talk about, I think about 6 hours masking this car. I think I now have declared that I dislike masking more than I dislike block sanding. So that's quite something. I think in the past, I probably was so traumatized by masking that your memory can block out bad situations. I forget how much I didn't like that. But I've also got a little unusual idea popping in my head for painting this car the way they were doing it, no tape lines. And so it has a little more engineering when it comes to masking. I just tape off stuff you want to paint on. We got to be able to open and shut trunks and doors and the hood. So I figured it's maybe time to grab the camera, show you what I've done, show you the plan, and then you get to watch me put some paint on the Great Pumpkin. I want to start back here at the trunk. I went ahead and installed the fuel door, and this here little thing, if you guys didn't figure out the last video, that's my handle so I can open and shut it while I'm painting, because I'm going to be able to paint the inside and inside, and then I still want this to be about here when I paint the tail panel to keep that metallic flake as even as possible. Maybe I'm going overboard. Metallic paint has come a long ways. It lays pretty even, but I don't know, I guess maybe a bit old school. I just want it all to be on the same plane, same time, same pass to ensure a better color match. And here on the bottom, I've just taped to the inside of the pinch or the entire car, and then I've draped paper and then plastic down to the floor to completely block the underbody from overspray, because the underbody on this car is in phenomenal shape. Now the other thing here is when you see the trunk, I've got this all taped off. Oh, we don't have any tape line here in the trunk area here for the gutter. And then what I've done here, well, this is, the masking has an opening in it for obvious reasons, I hope you see. That way the hinge can go in. Now, I've only masked off the trunk, not because I care about overspray in the car, I just don't want to stir dust up. So yes, there's a small hole here, but that's minimal. So the idea, a lot of this masking is just dust control in all seriousness. And what I've also done here, the trunk deck is adjusted exactly where I want it. So I plan to paint the hinges here at the same time, so the paint is nice and even on the hinges, so it looks like it was installed. So another little trick, I'm hoping that it works. And every single hole, badge holes and everything, same thing. Tape those things shut to keep from stirring up dust is the plan. Back window, self-explanatory. We don't want blowing dirt around. Now here's where it gets kind of interesting. The doors. Now what I've done here, completely tape the jamb. I don't want paper loose flopping around this, because when I go to shut the door, I'm going to be painting this. I don't want the paper touching this. I wanted this to be very secure. So I found a perfect use for this crappy low adhesive green tape. It sticks pretty good to new paint here. So it actually should peel off okay without damaging the paint, and also stay in place so I don't mess up my new paint I plan to put in here. So the same thing. There will be no tape line or blend line, because I'm going to paint the door jamb the same time I paint the quarter panel. Same thing, got my little handle here for the door so that I can maneuver it, open and shut. Now the wheel wells, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to try to shoot the whole wheel well lip here at the same time. And here's what I'm talking about. Here's the only tape line is going to be on the outside of the body, but it's tucked inside the body seam here, when we painted the rockers on the first go-around and doing some of the painting. Roof, on the other hand, well, we don't really care about that too much. Vinyl top, going to get a coat or two of color and maybe a coat of clear. We're going to call that good. Now the hood, I've got it bolted on and positioned into place. Now the hinges, well, they're a little wonky because they move and articulate. So to mask those off, this may be epic fail. We're going to find out. Now here's on the front fenders. This is all taped off. What I've done here, I've left the bolts out for the fender. So the inner fender where it ties to it, so I can paint this all autumn bronze. Then I'll come back and I'll put these bolts in. The heads will be the black oxide, so it looks like I actually installed the fenders after they were painted. I know it's one of those little details most people probably won't notice, but I don't know, I think it's just kind of fun to throw them in there. Same thing, I've got this all taped off. And then the underside of the front of the car, tape off my openings. Got this all taped off. And then underneath here, same thing, I plan on painting the valence at the same time. And just in case I accidentally latch the hood, because I do things like that, I left the hood latch out here exposed and wrapped it up with tape, but hoping I don't need that, but, planning ahead, Front of the hood, I'm going to paint. Now, here's where it gets, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Engine's all covered up, everything's happy. I have to paint the top edge of this fender from there up. So I've wrapped the hinges-ish with foil, but it's just not going to work. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to do some touch-up work on the hinges or do something along those lines. But I think I'd rather do that than deal with a tape line, because worst case scenario, I have someone come help me take this painted hood off, and then we'll put it back on. I'll just respray the hinges at this point. But other than that, one last look of the Great Pumpkin. I guess we'll call it naked, but I'm really hoping it comes out super clean and super nice. But got a bunch of stuff over here. Got to start mixing and get throwing some paint on. And what you see laid out here, we got some acetone and epoxy primer. We're going to use that for our sealer. Here's our Sherwin-Williams base coat. It was the best place that I could find a reasonable price. I don't normally like mixing paint systems because we have our clear coat is the 2042 PPG. I love this stuff, love it, hate it. Everyone has a million opinions on clear coat. Do your own homework, do your own research. This is just what I use, and I like how it works. And now, of course, you got the paint gun. You'll see here in addition, I use this on doing a lot of spraying because the amount of airflow and compressor cycle times, I'm going to get some moisture in the line. There's no doubt about it. So this one last little defense. They're not very expensive, one-time use. But again, I'd recommend using this if you're doing a lot of spraying. A little touch-up work, probably not so critical. Not a lot of air running through it. Of course, we know what this is here. That's necessary. The brick and the shingles, they're there just to make you ask questions. So, of course, step one is, got this thing all ready to go. I'm going to put a coat of sealer on it. It's just one coat of reduced epoxy primer. It's a fantastic base. It makes the color layout really even. It covers up all in case there are some high, low, dark spots where the primer is a little thin. It helps mask all that, so better coverage and even coverage with less coats of paint. That's what I'm all about. And of course, just in case I might run out of fuel, I think I have plenty of Mountain Dew to go. All right, what you see here, about 32 ounces of epoxy primer mixed up, and you reduce it 10%, so just a little more with the acetone to get it to where it flows a little better and works great for a sealer. We're going to dump this here in the paint gun here and go and start painting. I'm thinking that might be just enough to put one single coat of the entire car. Now, I'm not sure how many action shots I'll get of me painting because, well, I can't hold the camera and paint. So one time I can't do the camera and the holding the paint gun at the same time, but I'll see what I can do by getting some good shots. Or get you a long way and show you what needs to be done. There you go. Sealer coat on. That goes on really quick. You don't put it on super heavy, just enough one even coat. But that's almost actually dry to the touch on this side. But look at the side of this car here. It has a nice shine to it. This is just our sealer coat. Looking really nice. Now, of course, we are painting this thing in the garage, so it's going to have its probably faults. We're going to have fun finding them all. But the other thing about the sealer coat, do not touch it. Do not sand it. Do not do anything to it. You start putting your base coats, then your clear coat on top of it. And at that point, if you have any blemishes, that's when you try to correct them. Do not do anything to the sealer coat besides put stuff on top of it. Unless, I guess you'd say, it's really bad. And then, of course, you might want to stop and take a break. But looking pretty good. I'm going to give us about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. Let it sit. And I'll put some color on this bad boy. Now, the cool part for you guys sitting at home, watching me paint a car in the garage, the 30 minutes went by just as... Actually got the snap there just as quick as that. We've got enough time on this now. We're going to go ahead and put a single coat of base on it. I'm going to start with doing the jambs first, the trunk opening, the hood opening, get all that done so make sure I get a good even coverage on that because that's going to be the trickiest part, getting in there on the edges. So I'm going to try to do that first. The goal is 3 coats of color, 3 coats of clear. As long as everything goes well, we'll get this thing done here in no time at all. And it's starting to warm up. It was 72 degrees when I got up perfect, but it's starting to get a little warm. So I'm going to try to get this thing knocked out as soon as I can. Let's get some color mixed up and throw it on the car. Well, the first coat of color on successfully, looking pretty good. You can see it looks a little splotchy and the hood is naked. That's normal. Don't lay the stuff on super thick. Let the paint lay out. And then once we get the third coat or the last coat of color, we hold the gun a little further away to help kind of blend the metallic. At least that's what's worked for me in the past, to reduce anti-tiger striping or any kind of the weird stuff we got going on. But the next coat, I'll lay it on just a little bit heavier. Then we'll check it with the light and see how we're doing as for coverage. And the third coat should seal the deal and be done. Now I'm going to try my best to get this camera in here. You can kind of see what I see, but do you see any dirt picking out in this thing here at all? No dust? No. We've got this thing sealed to the ground. We've got all the dirt from inside being blown around. The air outside is super calm, not blowing around. So far, so good. I think we're going to have another successful in the garage paint job. But like I said, put a couple more coats of color on, and we'll hit it with some clear. You'll really see what this thing looks like. There's another tip here for you. While I was painting here, you see that little nib in the paint? This is in our base coat. So this is the point now where if you need to doctor up something, you can. But if you take a tack cloth, sometimes you can just kind of snag the debris out of it, and then it'll actually kind of lay out a whole lot flatter. So when you put your next coat of color on, it'll actually kind of hide those little spots. So I had two little spots, one right there and one right there. But I don't know what it was, but it seemed to have got the bump out of it. So next coat should cover that up. All right, now we've got our second coat on, flashed off, ready for our third coat. The thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my super bright flashlight here. I like that kind of rhyme, super bright flashlight. I'm looking for any kind of discoloration or deviation. There's actually a spot right here where the metallic's a little funny in it. So not the end of the world, but just when we get the next coat on, I see a couple spots here and there. This is kind of a way to kind of see what's going to look like out in the sun. It's also kind of dark here in the garage. A good way to check everything here, but looking pretty good. So I think we'll do a third coat. And the roof, I'll just put one more, kind of a mist coat, so get the center of that thing covered up. But I'm going to go over the whole car here, look for and identify any really bad areas that might need more than the last third coat of color. And then I'll address those, and we'll go from there. But so far, looking really, really nice. And like the paint's laying out real good here today. So I'm hoping here real soon we're going to throw some clear on it. Well, third coat of color went on with, I guess, success. Laying out super even. The metallic's laying out great. Very little dirt picking up in here still. So far, so good. I think it's going to come out really fantastic. Now, for the time for the main event, the clear coat. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit the door jambs first, here inside the hood, inside the trunk. Hit that with that coat of clear in all the hard-to-reach areas. Then I'll hit the outside with one coat. Then I'll do the outside again with a second coat. And the third coat, I'll probably hit all the jambs again and do the entire outside. And then see what we got. I think it's going to come out fantastically. Just in case you want to see some close-up, this paint actually lays out really smooth still. Now you're looking down the side of this car and there's a reflection. This is just the base coat, but you don't see anything hanging out, dirt collecting or anything cruddy. It's actually laying out really nice. Now I'm not an expert at painting by any stretch of imagination, so someone else may have a different opinion, but I feel this is coming out really good. Now you'll see these blemishes here, here, and here. No big deal. That's underneath the vinyl top. So if you guys want to nitpick, don't worry about it. I didn't fix those because it didn't have to. But look at their seam sealing. That looks really clean and factory. So that's going to lay out really nice. Got one little dust nib right there, but I think we can tolerate that. This is a garage paint job, so it's not going to be perfect, but I think she looks pretty good. All right, time for the main event, I like to say. One thing, I guess, is a garage tip. One thing you do here, don't dig too deep. This is metallic, but this thing's been sitting in the garage for about 30 minutes waiting for it to dry. Door's wide open. Crap happens. There's dirt floating around. So I'm going to wipe the whole car down lightly with this to remove any dust and potentially little nibs or anything that might be in the paint. Then we're going to throw some clear on this thing. Don't know about you, but this sure looks a whole lot better than that rusty old bird that came in here, just over a year ago. And here's this crazy part. The paint is kind of like the last big, look at that, a little bit of dust coming off there. So just lightly, you don't want to mess up the metallic flake. Just kind of go over the whole thing lightly. And that'll help keep the dust down. It's going to hit in your clear coat here. So this is a garage paint job 101, right? That's what we're doing here today. Looks real nice, but nonetheless, this paint, once it cures and dries, all I got to do is put the interior in this bird, a few minor touches, and it might actually be going down the road again, seeing the sunshine out in the great outdoors. And that sure sounds pretty cool. Look at that. So that's the reason we're going to do this. Just wipe this down lightly. I'll get the whole car. And then we're going to hit with some clear. Now the cool thing about being that it's all bolted together, I don't have to worry about nicking panels trying to assemble this thing by myself here in the garage. That's not to say I couldn't call one of you guys out here to give me a hand. Plenty of you would be more than happy to. But it's kind of the idea. I want to see if I can do it. Checkbox, prove it. And from now on, I'll be calling you guys to help because I don't need to prove nothing no more because you've seen it. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of crack around the trunk deck. Alright, okay. There we go. Let's mix up some clear. Would you look at that? The pumpkin is shiny again. It actually came out pretty good. Didn't get a whole lot of footage while painting because there's just so much time, get the stuff taken care of, knock it out. But it's a little bit more orange peel than I expected it to be. But I did end up putting 4 coats of clear out. So we'll be doing some cutting and buffing on this thing. But in all seriousness, not that much dirt in it. It came out really good. Should be pretty easy to buff this thing back and make it really look really sharp pretty quick. So I'll tell you, I have 2 runs in the paint job, so whatever. I can't always get it perfect, but I do believe I'll be able to clean those up and get them taken out of there. But she definitely looks a whole lot better autumn bronze. See, if you look at the paint here, she's just got a little bit of texture to it here and there. You can see it in the ripples in it there. Not horrible, but I really feel that's going to buff out pretty easily, so I don't think I'm going to have a whole lot of trouble getting that cleaned up. And right here, if I look just right, you catch a little bit of a run right there in the paint. I got one back there on the tail panel too. But garage paint job number 2 in the Vinyl Village garage, complete, in the books and done. I'll let this thing sit for a couple, 4 or 5 days, maybe 10 days, and we'll do some cutting and buffing on it. But that'd be a video for a different day. But here she is, autumn bronze. I'm kind of tired. I'm worn out. 6 a.m. started masking and get this thing ready to be painted. Now she's shining. And look at that reflection down the side of the car. Nice and even between the panels. That's what we were going for. Now, still need a little cutting and buffing. It's got little things wrong with it, but it's a garage. It's not going to be a perfect paint job, but I have enough material on there, 4 coats of clear. We can work it, cut it, buff it, and make this thing look phenomenal. So I'll probably do a video on that, but for now, I'm done. I'm going to take a break, take a nap. I'm not sure because I might take a couple weeks off. This is a huge milestone. I'm so happy to be at this point, and it actually came out great. Bodywork is just phenomenal. This thing's gonna look fantastic when it's all done. The chrome and all the white top, everything all back on. Look at that thing shine here in the garage. So anyway, nonetheless, I rambled on enough. Whatever we're gonna do next time, I will grab the camera and we will see you then.